Welcome to Plant Soil Science Spotlight. My name is Josh Lofton, and today we're taking the first look at some of the graduate students in the Plant Soil Science Department. And Anna, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself?
My name is Anna Zander, and I'm originally from Enid, Oklahoma. I came to OSU in 2013 for my bachelor's and been around ever since.
Been here for the long haul, huh? So being around Enid, did you grow up on a farm, or how were you exposed to agriculture before you came to OSU?
I did not grow up on a farm. I lived right in the heart of Enid, so in town, but my grandparents, both my grandpas, were wheat growers and ran some cattle, so I had the opportunity to go hang out with them, and that was always a really fun time going to harvest and checking cattle.
So was it kind of this nostalgia or being around your grandparents that brought you to ag when you came to Oklahoma State, or kind of what drew you to this field?
So nostalgia definitely had a part of it. I have a deep respect for the lifestyle and wanted to have my part in that. But really, in high school, my botany teacher took us to the Lahoma Research Station for a little field trip, and so that put into my mind the opportunities I had to include science, which I love, and then into the nostalgic farming lifestyle.
Oh, that's very good. So you're not only a graduate student in the department, but you're one of our PhD students. So can you tell me a little bit about your master's work?
Yeah, so I did get my master's here as well. I was working with grain sorghum and looking at different management options for grain sorghum in the presence of sugarcane aphids. So kind of just reevaluating standard practices with sugarcane aphids in mind.
I do know that has made us had to reevaluate a lot of things,
Yeah.
and maybe one day we can kind of get a little bit further into that. But today we wanted to talk a little bit more about your PhD program. So can you give me kind of a summary of what your program's all about here?
Sure. So I switched crops. I'm now working in soybeans. Still looking at some advanced management options in Oklahoma. And so I have three main projects. One looking at cover crops, different mixes with soybeans after, looking at soil health and yield components, as well as some weed management options. Then we have a weathering trial, is what we call it, looking at delayed harvest and different insecticide applications throughout season. And then our third one is a residue management for double crop soybeans.
So I'm going to go back to a term you used there, weathering. What do you actually mean by weathering?
So weathering, just like you would think of equipment weathering and throughout time outside, that's kind of what we're talking about with these soybeans. So quality is highest at that first dry down period, and so as you prolong that harvest and delay it, you see quality start to diminish as well as yield. So that's what we're referring to with the term weathering.
So I know most Oklahoma growers that I know would want the most yield and the highest quality that you can get. So
Right.
if I'm a grower out in the field, what can I do to get that lowest weathering or that best quality and best yield?
So far what we have been seeing is season-long insect control is a big component to that, as well as that timely harvest. So we've been seeing up to nearly a bushel per acre yield loss per day with that delayed harvest. So it's important to get out there and get it harvested timely.
So you said insecticide control. What kind of insects should growers be kind of looking for and focused on, particularly when it calls for weathering?
The stink bug is a big insect that's what I'm out there scouting for usually.
Stink bug, primarily because they're pod feeding insects.
Right.
Is that correct? Okay, very good. And so I'm going to go to your first chapter. Cover crops is a term we use a lot in ag nowadays, and you gave a couple of components you're looking at. One of those, weed control. Can you tell me a little bit more about what you guys have been finding?
Yeah, so we have different cover crop mixes as treatments, and so we've seen that our small grains mix, which is wheat, rye, and oats, has been promising with the weed control side of things. So in season of soybeans even, we're seeing some drastic differences.
So you're not only seeing weed control in that transitionary period between cover crops and the crop, but also in the soybean season
Right.
itself. And as far as selection, you said it, that small grains are potentially your best option for seeing that kind of aiding in weed control?
So far, that's what we've been seeing. Definitely a little different from our broadleaf cover crops.
Okay. And one last component we'll kind of get to on your work is you've said soil health, and once again, very similar to cover crops, big term in agriculture right now. So, I mean, just basically, what are you guys looking at from a soil health standpoint?
Soil health, overall, we're just looking at the soil as a whole, and so not only just the physical side of things, but also the chemical and biological side of the soil. So we've been looking into all three and trying to get a well-rounded view of it.
Just trying to get that really complex look at it. Well, we do appreciate you taking a little bit of time out of your day to come and talk with us, and we do appreciate you joining us here. Join us next time for Plant and Soil Science Spotlight, where we'll be looking at some more of our graduate students within the department.